So there is a middle school called Nettleton Middle School in Mississippi that's under fire for segregating its students when it comes to class elections. So they have elections when it comes to class president, vice president, secretary, reporter, all sorts of positions. Now, what they have is 12 different categories, and 8 of those categories are reserved for the white students. Okay? And these are arguably the best categories, like president, higher positions.
Now, how do they present that? When they say, do they say whites only? Is there, how is this?
They do. They actually, how this story broke is, the administrators in the middle school passed out flyers explaining what your qualifications need to be in order to run for any particular position. And, a student's parents got a hold of it, and they mailed it over to the smoking gun, and the smoking gun broke this story.
And it actually says you have to be white to run
Yes.
for these offices? Not even some cover story like we need to see your birth certificate to prove you weren't born in Kenya or something. Just straight out, you have to be white.
Well, for the black students who have Muslim-sounding names, they have to provide a birth certificate
do?
in order,
Okay.
yes, in order to run. But no, they don't.
All right, well, yeah. But the gist is the same. They're really saying white kids only can run for the best position.
Right, white kids only in in 8 of the positions. Now, the positions where the black students can participate are vice president, secretary, and reporter.
All right, but I need to add an important caveat in here. To be fair to this district, the black students get promoted every year. In 6th grade, they could run for a reporter, which I didn't realize that was a position. These days, maybe reporter just means you write things down that the president tells you. So that would make sense. And then in 7th grade, they get moved up to the 3rd spot. They could run for Secretary of Treasury. Okay. I didn't know they had those in middle school either. And then in 8th grade, the black guy can finally run for vice president.
And when can a white guy run for vice president or president?
Well, white guys get all other categories.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so they can't. White guy cannot run for vice president in 8th grade, but they're locked in 6th and 7th grade for that position, for example. My second question was, what happens to the Chinese kids?
Right.
Where do they get?
I know, it's crazy.
This is 15 miles from Tupelo, Cenk. I don't think the Chinese population is big there. Okay? I don't think that's their most immediate demographic issue.
What happens if an Indian kid moves into the neighborhood? And they're going to be confused. They're like, wait, can he be a reporter in 6th grade or can he be a reporter in 7th grade? I can't figure it out.
Well, since they're operating on the principles of apartheid South Africa, they'll have to do what apartheid South Africa did and just designate them randomly as black or white. Or colored, which was the 3rd category in South Africa. So it's a pretty awe-inspiring story. And not far from the birthplace of Elvis Presley, who was inspired by African-American music. So the symbolism there is heavy. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but it's unbelievable. I mean, I would think that somebody would be in big trouble over this.
Right. Well, when this story first broke, an administrator tried to explain why they segregate the students in these elections, and they said, well, our school is, mostly white, and we want to make sure that the black students get a chance to be voted into some position. So that's why we did this. But then what explains the fact that they only get a limited amount of positions and they're like the worst positions?
And presumably the white kids can also run for the, it's insane.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane.
So,
Look, even if in his crazy mind he was trying to do it for affirmative action, like he was trying to help the black kids by letting them run for reporter or treasury guy, but it still wouldn't make sense, and it still wouldn't be right. I don't care if it's a liberal position or a conservative position; it doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
And then from my perspective, I'm still trying to figure out if they would classify me as black or white. I mean, at Turk, kind of swarthy, olive-skinned. Is that really white? But on the other hand, is it really black? I don't know. I can't wait to see where I'd come out on that scale.
Well, a lot of people brought that up to the superintendent. His name is Russell Taylor, and he decided that, okay, we're going to put a halt to this for the time being, and we're going to investigate the matter and figure out whether or not it's appropriate or if it's even constitutional.
Well, he has a question about whether it's appropriate.
Right. No, seriously.
So we
this
need
is
to
what he
write
says.
to Russell Taylor. People need to drop him a line, the Nettleton school superintendent, and say, what do you mean you have to ask yourself whether it's appropriate to segregate the government of your middle school,
Right.
which has 400 students in a town of 2,000 people, 15 miles south of Tupelo? You know, what can I say? The only good news in that is that I would imagine the student government of Nettleton Middle School does not wield overwhelming power. And, you know, I don't think they have tanks or a standing army or anything like that. That's a student control. But it's absolutely a horrifying story and leaves me uncharacteristically speechless.